Hello, welcome to Soulprint. Thank you very, very much for being here. So, this has been an exciting week, right? We've gotten through the first day of the Democratic Convention without any mishaps or explosions. It was amazingly well done. I think the next 3 days should be just as um, fun and interesting and hopeful. And the the comment pertaining to Trump and what he's doing and what he wants to do, by and large, are very clever. They're witty, they're to the point, and I suspect that they're just making Trump insane. Apparently, during the convention yesterday, he did not send out any media, right? There was no tweets, there was no nothing. And then after it ended, I guess he started, which sort of indicates that he was probably watching some or all of it, and I'm sure not liking a lot of it. So I just thought that I would take a little peek and see how the energies are between the two. So because I want to stand on a high note, we're going to start with the Republican Party and how they're responding, reacting to the convention, to the polls, and just frankly to all of the energy that is swirling around the upcoming election. So let's just take a peek at how Republicans are doing. Okay, so I can tell you that um, uh, Trump is beside himself with fury. That's the only word I can use. Absolute fury. The insults and he considers them, um, character assassinations, right? I mean, he is just beyond because, he's getting picked on. He doesn't like it. Um, and he has such a thin skin, and then when you see it sort of for hour after hour and all these different people, it's really, really getting to him. What's interesting, however, because listen, we know Trump, we know he's going to be mad, we know he's going to spew. It's just what he does. But what is interesting is energetically, as I'm looking at two different sort of Republican areas, I'm looking at the Republican Party writ large, and there is some real concern starting to bubble up to the surface. I can't believe it took him this long, but in any case. So what's going on there is the realization that, wait a minute, this election is not in the bag. In fact, it's getting tanked. We can't get Trump to shut up and talk about anything other than his petty grievances and insult Kamala, which is not, doing him any favors. So Republicans are starting to get like really, really concerned. They're not only concerned about the White House, but those that are up for reelection in the Senate and, of course, people in the House are all getting concerned because what should have been an easy walk in is no longer. And they realize that the momentum is building, and it's building so quickly, and it's shifting away from them. I mean, um, I'm recording this on Tuesday afternoon, and so tonight, so that will be, you'll see it this in the morning. There's going to be like a whole bunch of speakers from Republicans for Harris. So this is just really, really rocking the boat. There is a lot of buyer's remorse, and lately that phrase has been used to talk about Vance. But honestly, a lot of the buyer's remorse right now is from Republicans who are recognizing that they should have stood up a long time ago, and because they didn't and they haven't, they have handed this thing over to somebody who is absolutely going to destroy them. This is the thing. We often talk about the Republican Party being no more, and they have now become like the Trump cult. But this is the thing. They didn't start out that way. And they still have some understanding about what the Republican Party used to stand for. So they're in a funny place, right? Because they realized the degree to which Trump has literally bastardized the party and the party's platforms, belief structures, what have you. And there is also a fair bit of concern actually about Project 2025 coming from Republicans, because on the one hand, those who are higher up the ladder think this is fabulous, right? I mean, because they can just see it as gobbling up more power and more power. And as long as they stay on Trump's good side, they're going to be part of that feast. But there's a whole bunch of other ones who are like, this is dangerous. Project 2025 itself is a little, annoyed and upset because whoever came up with the brainstorm to release this thing early didn't think it through. But you know what? This is an absolute example of um, them living in their own bubble, right? And they're so convinced that what they think and how they think and the way they perceive things is the only way and the accurate way, that they failed to understand how many people were not going to agree with him. Very, very much like Roe v. Wade, right? They had their agenda. And it was right, and it was the only way. Oh, wow, look at all this backlash. 85% of Americans don't agree with us. Oops. So there's a lot of buyer's remorse going on, just not about Vance. And he's just what he is. And, he doesn't help the ticket. But frankly, neither does Trump, right? I mean, they have not increased their base. In fact, they are shrinking their base because a lot of people who were like, no, we're going to give him a chance. This is what the party wants. They're starting to move away and walk away. And as the momentum builds, they are becoming more and more concerned because Trump is becoming more and more erratic, and they can't control him. They can't harness that energy. They can't anything. And listen, they're also not so. Some of them are not so deep in the weeds that they're not able to compare just the basic energy of the two conventions. And they're recognizing that their convention was flat, it was white, it was grievance based, and really the only I don't know, bump or perk to the whole thing was the fact that Trump was walking around with a diaper on his ear. Because other than that, it really didn't offer anybody much of anything, because all that was talked about was, one, how amazing Trump was, and two, all of his grievances and complaints. So that's where the Republican Party is right now. They are scrambling. They're scared. They're starting to recognize, like with real seriousness, that this thing is imploding on them. And I would not be surprised if over the next, where are we now? I want to say the next 3 weeks, so sort of taking us to the middle of September. Don't be surprised if you start to see people jumping ship, people trying to distance themselves, because the realization is hitting that Trump isn't going to win this election for them. In fact, he's going to lose it for them. Now, I don't know why it took him so long to figure that out, considering he lost 2018, 2020, 2022, and he's going to lose 2024. But for some reason, they still seem to think he's like some kind of a winner. So that's what's going on over there. A lot of worry, a lot of anxiety, trying to figure out how to corral Trump. Can't do it. Can't figure out a new message. And I've spoken to this before, right? If you are asking the old, antiquated people with their old antiquated ideas to come up with a new strategy to fight the Harris Walls thing, they're not going to be able to, because again, they only know one playbook. And honestly, more importantly, it's becoming really, really apparent that Trump only knows one game, and he can't deviate from it because it's all he knows. And in his head, it always worked. And so he doesn't understand why it's not always working all of a sudden. So then we shift. Let's shift over to the energy around the DNC and the energy around Biden and Harris and Walz. It's bigger than big. The energy is okay. If you're hearing that, it's the dog. Hold on. Hi, sorry about that. Okay, so when I went to tell the doctor stop barking, I realized that my mic wasn't hooked up. I suspect you're going to be able to hear me just fine, but if I've been a little quiet, just turn up your sound. The mic on my computer is actually quite good, so I'm hoping that everything I just said you heard. So we're going to go look at the GMT now. The energy around the convention is electric. Um, People are getting so filled up with hope and promise and excitement. You know, people can only bitch for so long. They can only whine and grumble and go on and on about how hard life is until everybody gets tired of hearing about it. And what the Republicans and Trump haven't figured out is we're all really, really tired of hearing about it. And so when we're not hearing about it, when we're people are talking about things that are light and bright and hopeful and promises of just really a better way forward, of course that energy ramps up. What happens when energy ramps up? It expands. So there's always some question about, like, can they sustain it to the election? Not only are they going to sustain it, but by the time you get to the election, it's going to be bigger than it is now. Because think of all the people who are just now going, "Oh, wait a minute, there's an election coming. We should be watching this convention." And they're watching it and they're going, what did I miss? What's been going on? So you have more and more people that are going to be joining that energy. So as I said, I don't think that there's going to be any issue in terms of maintaining the momentum. I think the momentum is going to continue to build and build and build. That's what they're showing me. So what do we take away from this? Well, we take away the fact that the combination of Harris and Walz has put such a human face on the presidency. It has put an idea, an energy, an attitude of the fact that for them, this is the ultimate expression of what they can do and contribute for and to society, for fellow Americans, and by extension, in some cases, other parts of the world. For the first time, I think in a long time, American politics is being looked at as really human. It's not slick. It's not produced. It's just humans having human emotions and human reactions. Anybody watching the reactions to Biden's address on Monday night could not help but notice that, particularly, when the camera was panning back to the four of them, the Harrises and the Walters, that they were reacting in real time with real emotion and with real genuine emotion. And so that energy becomes amplified. And the older energy, the more resistant energy, in many, many ways within the Democratic Party has basically now been put in place. And it's not that you discount the wisdom, the knowledge, or the experience, but what you do is understand that there is a new energy going forward. There's a new group of people. What is it? Something like 20 million people are now eligible to vote that were not eligible to vote at the last election. Think about that. That's a heck of a lot of young people running around, a lot of them, right? And they have a different agenda because they recognize that they're inheriting this world and it's a mess. And they're looking to politicians who are going to help fix that world and make it a better place. And so even the older established ones are looking around and they're going, you know what? I need to think about this, because what worked for the last 10, 15, 20, 25 years is not going to work for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years going forward. And so, where's my place? Where do I fit into that? And some of them are able to make that jump and that leap, and some of them are not. Now, even the ones who are not, or who, maybe we're not real impressed with some of their behavior, doesn't matter, that you're going to vote for them because we need every seat. You need every seat in the Congress, all right? But you cannot just, the power of the energy behind what is going on right now is explosive. And it doesn't diminish, it increases, it gets bigger and bigger. And more people get sort of wrapped up and caught up in the excitement of it, in the belief that finally, like, really amazing things can get done going forward. Truly, that Biden created a base and a foundation, and it can move forward from there, right? Because, with the infrastructure and the climate change and the gun stuff, right? So they're recognizing that, listen, he put a platform in place, and now we're going to vote in people who will honor that platform and expand the platform. That's where the party's going. And honestly, the vast majority of the party is really, really excited to get there. The combination of Harris and Walz is being incredibly, incredibly well received. And even those who maybe might have wanted things slightly different or to unfold in a different way have been kind of put in their place by recognizing where the party is now energetically, in terms of everything, in terms of fundraising, in terms of just basic energy, in terms of volunteering, in terms of money, where they are now versus where they would have been had there been some sort of a cat fight going on at the convention about who was going to, end up as party leader. This way, it is so tight, it is so clean, it is so focused. And it's just going to keep on rolling forward. It really, really is going to keep on rolling forward. Having said that, do not take your foot off the gas, because that other party may be irritating and in some cases just downright stupid. and hypocritical, they're going to keep flinging arrows. And everyone needs to make sure that they are doing everything that they can to keep that momentum going forward, and always being mindful of the fact that those arrows are going to have to get addressed. And the campaign has been doing an amazing, amazing job of sort of setting them back and putting them into place. But for every single American who is out there and who is able to contribute in any way, shape, or form to the election, from donations to volunteering and everything in between, don't stop. And you know what? And it's not only don't stop because there is so much to lose if this election is lost, but it's about keeping it going so that the energy just continues to build and build and build. And as people start focusing on American politics, because summer is over and it's fall time and there's an election and people are sort of starting to zero in, they also are going to feel that momentum and that passion and that excitement, and they're going to be jumping on board. And you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can do, keep that momentum going. The other thing that I'm being just told, and I'm sure we'll get into this at a later date or sort of individually, but what they're telling me is that there were a lot of down ballot races that were really considered sort of like not winnable by Dems, or certainly a hard win. And a lot of that energy has started to shift and change. It will continue to do so because the, the, the people in the down ballot races are being covered, if you will, in the magical fairy dust of the Harris Wills campaign. And so they too are becoming elevated. They too are becoming heard. And so, especially for those of you who are in, purple or red state, make sure that you spend some time focusing on some of those down ballot races. And that includes the governor and your state legislature and your school board and all of that. But that as that momentum builds, that's where you're going to get this idea that it's not going to end up being the close race people keep saying it's going to be. And you know what? Let them keep saying it, because I think the more they say it, the more everyone stays on their toes and they keep focused and doing what they need to do. But based on the energy that I'm being shown right now, I can tell you it is not going to be as close as people are projecting at this point that it will be. And they want me to remind you that the polls, even the ones that are really good for the Dems, are not accurate because they're not tapping into sort of the people and the energy that is going to win the race, because those people don't have landlines and they don't answer the phone from unknown numbers. And if somehow all of that happens, they don't take part in, surveys and polls. So there's this huge and building silent majority out there, and no one's asking them what they think. And that's going to end up being the surprise of the night in November. Please put any questions you have. I've read them. Some of them are really, really good questions for Pendulum Friday. Put them in the comment section below for the amazing Joyce. And take care. Be well. I'll see you soon.